Hey everyone, today is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. And I've got a major update for you on the big winter storm that's really starting to ramp up right now. Now, let's talk about this winter storm because it's shaping up to be a serious situation for a lot of people. Winter storm warnings have been issued across a massive stretch of the country, starting in Kansas and extending through Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Kentucky, and all the way into parts of the mid-Atlantic, even reaching areas near the outer banks of North Carolina. This is going to be a significant snow event, and it's hitting some of the same places that just dealt with massive flooding, which is only going to add to the problems. There are still areas where water remains over the roads, and with temperatures dropping, that standing water is going to freeze, creating extremely dangerous travel conditions. If you're in any of these areas, now is the time to prepare. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. As for which areas will see the biggest impacts today, we're looking at southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, and northern Arkansas as the bullseye for some of the heaviest snow and worst conditions. Tulsa, Oklahoma is right in the line of fire, and we're expecting major impacts from snow, sleet, and ice throughout the day. It's going to be a rough one for anyone traveling in and around Tulsa. The same goes for Joplin and Springfield, Missouri. Both of those cities are in for a significant hit from this storm. Fayetteville, Arkansas is also looking at major travel delays, along with Pittsburgh in southeast Kansas and Paducah, Kentucky. Southern Illinois and southeastern Missouri will also be in for some significant issues as the storm moves through. Even places like Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Wichita, Kansas will see some moderate travel disruptions. This storm is already making history in a way because today marks the first time we've ever issued a moderate risk for winter storm conditions in our winter storm outlook. Now, to be fair, that designation might not mean a whole lot yet since we just started issuing these outlooks about a week ago, but still, it's worth noting. And it's not just one area, it's at risk. Storm's bringing in enhanced risk for severe winter weather from Kansas all the way into western Kentucky. By tomorrow, the storm's impact zone shifts eastward, bringing snow and ice to Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and North Carolina. So let's break down what this storm is going to look like as it plays out over the next 24 hours. By the time we get to this evening, around 6 p.m. Eastern, heavy snow will be coming down in Tulsa with lighter snow starting up in Kansas City. St. Louis might see a few flakes flying, but there's going to be some dry air in place, which could slow things down a bit before the snow really starts accumulating there. Meanwhile, Paducah will already be seeing steady snowfall, and down in Little Rock and Fayetteville, we're expecting some intense freezing rain. As the night goes on, we'll see snow and sleet pushing into Memphis around midnight, and by then, Fayetteville and Little Rock will be getting hit hard. And a couple of hours later, around 2, Nashville will start seeing accumulating snow, and by 4, both Memphis and Nashville will be dealing with heavy snowfall. Knoxville will likely get in on the action closer to 5 or 6 a.m., and around that same time, we'll have a large swath of moderate snow stretching across Kentucky from Lexington to Moorhead and over toward Charleston, West Virginia. This snow will keep coming down steadily through the early morning hours between 5 a.m. and 9. But what's interesting with this storm is what happens when it interacts with the Appalachian Mountains. As soon as it reaches that terrain, the system seems to weaken and fall apart. It does try to regroup as it moves east, but only in a very small area, specifically southern Maryland, southern Delaware, Norfolk, Virginia, and parts of North Carolina. The storm is looking more progressive than earlier models suggested, which means it's moving faster and is less likely to bring heavy snow to the big cities in the Northeast. Here in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, or Boston, the chances of seeing any snow from the storm are dropping significantly. Now, when it comes to snowfall totals, things are still looking about the same as they have for the last several days. The heaviest snow will be focused over southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, southern Missouri, and northern Arkansas. That area is going to see a broad corridor of snowfall exceeding 10 inches, with Springfield and Joplin right in the heart of it. On the flip side, places like St. Louis, Kansas City, and Cincinnati will likely stay under 2 inches. Memphis is going to be right on the edge of the heavier snow. And I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up with around an inch, maybe a little more. Nashville is also in the lighter snowfall range where they could see an inch or 2 at most. Paducah, Kentucky could pick up around 3 to 5 inches, but the real hotspot is going to be in that corridor from Springfield to Tulsa. That's where we're expecting the highest snow totals. One of the biggest concerns with this storm isn't just the snow, it's the ice. Parts of North Carolina, especially south of Greenville, could see more than a quarter inch of freezing rain, which is going to make for extremely slick roads and could lead to power outages. We're also increasing confidence in an ice event for eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, including the Fort Smith area. Tenth to a quarter inch of ice is now looking more likely there, which will also create dangerous travel conditions and power outage concerns. As we move toward tomorrow, the storm is set to begin around 1 p.m. and on Wednesday, February 19th, with light to moderate snow spreading across Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Ohio, West Virginia, and even parts of North Carolina by early afternoon. By 4 p.m., the snow begins to intensify, especially in the areas further south as the low pressure system moves over Florida before redeveloping off the southeastern coast. This redevelopment causes the storm to gain strength, and we see heavier snow starting to fall in northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. The heaviest snow will likely occur between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. when the storm is at its peak. This intensification is crucial as it will affect the snowfall totals and the timing of the heaviest accumulation. By 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the snow will become even heavier with northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia continuing to see the most significant accumulation. It's shaping up to be quite an event, and for those of us in the affected areas, this could be one of the top snowstorms we've experienced in a while. As the storm progresses, even by 10 p.m., we'll still be seeing snow in these regions, and it will continue through the night with moderate snowfall continuing into early Thursday morning around 1 a.m. Thursday, the heaviest snow will shift slightly, but for the most part, the storm will continue to dump snow throughout the night and into Thursday. By 4 a.m. Thursday, snow will have shifted somewhat, but we'll still be dealing with moderate snowfall, particularly in northern North Carolina and Virginia. This snow will taper off as the low pressure system moves further inland, with snow showers lingering through Thursday morning into the afternoon. Even though the snow won't be as intense, it's still going to add to the overall totals in some areas. We should expect to see some lingering flurries and snow showers into Thursday afternoon. By late afternoon and early evening, the snow should start to wrap up. We'll finally enter a quieter weather pattern by Friday with much colder temperatures setting in across the east. Looking ahead to the weekend and beyond, things are still looking quite unsettled, particularly in the east. The GFS model has already shown some signs of another storm potential around February 23rd, with some light to moderate snow possible in the mid-Atlantic. It's still early. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on, especially as we get closer to the end of the month. February 25th could bring another significant snowfall event, particularly to the Northeast, with New York and New England seeing potentially plowable amounts of snow. However, these kinds of storms in the Great Lakes and Midwest have been particularly difficult to track this season. So we'll have to see how things evolve. Further out, we're looking at more cold air pushing into the east at the end of February and into early March, with potential for severe weather outbreaks in the southeast. This could bring another round of snow, particularly for the mid-Atlantic, but there are still plenty of uncertainties. Some long-range models are suggesting that we might see a strong cold front pushing through the southeast on February 26th, followed by more snow possibilities as colder air takes hold. But like many of these long-range forecasts, we'll have to wait and see how things shape up as we approach March. On top of everything else, there's another storm brewing for the deep south that could bring significant snow and thunderstorms around March 3rd or 4th. It's still very far out, but if this model pans out, it could bring more major snowfall and storm impacts for the southeast, which is rare, but certainly something to keep an eye on. As we get deeper into March, temperatures will fluctuate as cold air continues to dive in behind storms and warm air surges ahead of them. The weather models are showing increasing uncertainty as we approach the beginning of the month. So we're in for an interesting ride with the potential for major low pressure systems moving across the deep south and into the east. However, there's still so much time for things to change, and smaller shifts in the storm track could have a big impact on the snow totals and whether or not a snowstorm materializes in the areas we're watching. While there are still plenty of unknowns, it's clear that the weather in the coming weeks will keep everyone on their toes. For those of us in the east, we'll be tracking these systems closely, knowing that even small changes in the models can completely alter the storm's outcome. It's certainly shaping up to be an eventful end to February with some very active weather on the horizon. Thanks for watching. See you next one.